should Mike McDaniel take the Dolphins job is one of the things being discussed. We know DeMeco Ryans with an S isn't going anywhere. And the question now then turns to, will Kyle Shanahan have to replace his offensive coordinator, or quotes? But the good news is he doesn't have to replace his DC.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Mike McDaniel, who's been with the guy for, forever, right? Basically Kyle's entire important career when he became a position coach to today, the present, is important. And I think Kyle would be the first to tell you that whatever he does, it's impossible to quantify what guys do on a staff that don't call the plays right. But clearly, like I've just been there, seen it, like their whiteboards, like, he gets whatever. He's in charge of the run game, the run scheme. Kyle Juszczyk has told us, like, his ability. He's an Ivy League guy. Clearly the guy's brilliant.
Can I interrupt just to make one point before you say the but? Shanahan said in his press conference on Tuesday, when asked again about, I think it might have been Biederman asked him, now that you've had another day to think about the 4th down and 2 punt, do you think any differently? And he talked about how the problem was that it was 2.5 yards, that it went from 2nd and 1 to 3rd and 2 to 4th and 2.5. But that before I think it was either before the 2nd down or before the 3rd down play, he actually said into the headset, guys, if it's like 4th and an inch or 2, we're going to go for it. What do we like here? So part of what was happening in Kyle Shanahan's headset was Mike McDaniel, maybe Bobby Slowick, guys were talking in his headset about what play they would like on 4th and 1. So to your point, the decisions that get made, I don't know that Kyle Shanahan asks a lot. We don't know. I always get the impression Kyle does what he wants when it comes to play calling. But sorry, just an example of kind of what happens.
I wonder if it's maybe a little more collaborative than we think, just because he's been with Mike. Why wouldn't you? I mean, he's been with Mike from day one. But ultimately, the run game, it is his run game, right? I mean, it's his family's scheme. Mike McDaniel, even if Kyle would tell you it's the best system I'm ever going to have, and let's just say that's true, it's just much easier to replace someone on offense than it would be for him on defense, because they would literally need a new defensive coordinator, right? They need a new guy to call the plays. And it is the most valuable thing about having Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay or, I saw Nathaniel Hackett said he's going to call plays. That's the other thing. Uberflus said he's not going to call defense.
No.
I think that losing DeMeco Ryan would have been much. I think it would have been a huge question. I would have been. I think everyone would have been like, "What the hell is he going to do? Is he going to elevate James, Belcher, the dude that had coached for Arians, and just move him up? He'd also been he's been a defensive coordinator several stops. Would he go in the Zimmer, Wink Martindale kind of that crew? Vic doesn't make as much sense because he runs a 3-4, and it's pretty clear like what they do with their front. Like they're not running a 3-4. But like McDaniel, again, blow, but you don't lose a play caller.
Yeah.
Is he going to be the next? It kind of feels like he's a decent chance he's the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins.
So his second interview, there's some discussion. His second interview is, Kyle said, Thursday with Miami. Now, Miami needs to hire a head coach. They got some other things to deal with. If you're Mike McDaniel, I'm not being funny. One of the questions you ask in your interview is like, guys, are you going to ever tell me to tank? Right? What is my level of power here? And I do wonder, here's the thing.
What if you're like, hey, $250,000 a game, I'm in.
Maybe you put that in the contract?
Yeah, $250 a game, and I would say anything in December is $500,000 a game, because that's really when we, get it in.
Yeah, no, a week, I guess what would it be now? A week 18 loss is worth a lot, because it's hard to lose week 18 if you're playing a team that's also trying to lose.
Yeah, no, I got a lot of players that know they're going to be free agents. They're giving it their all. I'm going to have to call shitty plays. Week 18 is worth $1 million.
Any team below you in the standings, also you should get extra. Like if we got to lose to the Jets, that's hard. Losing to the Jags, that's hard to lose to the Jags. You got to really try.
Harbaugh got all those bonuses this year for making the playoffs and beating Ohio State. If I get the number 1 overall pick, that is a year's salary, that value alone, if it's going to end up with a quarterback.
Oh, like an auto, like a rolling contract.
Like an auto kick. Like if I win the national championship as a head coach, like $3 million bonus, like boom, $6 million.
At this point, it feels like a major win for Kyle. If after the year they had, he comes back with both of those guys. And one thing you do know, it feels like the clock is ticking on DeMeco, right? Like if DeMeco Ryans is the DC in 2023, I mean, how much would you bet against that right now? Quite a bit, right?
It feels
because this team's going to have more money on defense now this year once they trade Jimmy Garoppolo.
feels like minimum 3 interviews next year and several second interviews for DeMeco, right?
Well,
Hell,
it's going to
maybe
be,
even
you know
more.
what it's going to be? It's going to be like Saleh, where it's like, 6 teams want to talk to him. He's declining interviews because he just can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot.
Here's the other thing.
Unless like a Getsy or something like resurrects Fields or Trevor Lawrence, like that offensive coordinator could shoot up fast.
Yeah, coaching quarterbacks, but like coaching defenses, guys are still getting hired that coach defense. Like at the end of the day, I would always lean offensive play caller, right? Quarterback coach, because that's the most valuable guy to my team. But I'm not hiring a lesser coach than a defensive coach if I think the defensive coach is the best guy for the job. Like you still have to hire the best head coach. So, but it's a huge win. I mean, DeMeco declining the interview for the Vikings job a second time. Now, it's not like he didn't turn down the offer.
Yeah, sometimes,
right.
I listen, in fairness to just the whole process, a lot of times when a guy declines, he knows he's not getting the job. Sure. And Questy, they had worked together. Maybe he tells them like, hey, man, I think my owner might force Harbaugh on me, who's interviewing on National Signing Day. Now it's part 2, and I read that he's already
signed all his players. Still weird.
Still pretty weird. It does.
If you're Michigan, you're like, come on.
It feels like he's doing a little FU to them, right?
It does, yeah.
And I thought Harbaugh was above it, but clearly he's not. Unless he takes the job, then he really wants to leave.
Well, it feels like he wants to leave. Even if he doesn't take the job, it's going to be weird there, I think.
Yeah.
At Michigan. I think it'll be weird at Michigan if Jim Harbaugh's back.
So basically Kyle Shanahan's going to go into year 6 and only had 2 defensive coordinators that are both going to be head coach. That's pretty impressive, right?
It is. But yeah.
Because he handpicked hired him.
It's one thing if you're a defensive coach and then your guys get jobs because your defense is so good, right?
Yeah.
Like Pete Carroll.
Or your offense. You get a
like Pete Carroll's OCs don't get jobs. Pete Carroll's defensive guys got jobs. Pete Carroll's offensive coordinator.
I think you need to preface it. Russell Wilson's OC.
Well, we've done that video before. We did that topic already. Yeah, that's true.
Because he's the only one of the star quarterbacks that doesn't produce jobs for guys. It is kind of crazy.
Andre says Saleh will be back if we can keep Ryans for 2 more years.
I would agree. If Ryans doesn't get a job next year and goes 3 years, Saleh's probably on the market year 3. And who knows? Sean Payton, right? You told me this, and you're dead right. Every head coach that is just not going to win next year is on notice. And any head coach with a big pocket owner is definitely on notice that's not winning. And when I say not winning, that could be 7-10. I mean, there's a chance Robert Saleh goes 5 wins next year. You don't think that Johnson, especially if Zach shows a couple signs, I'll just hire Sean Payton. You want to come work with Zach Wilson, be the head coach of the New York Jets, resurrect him?
Well, the Texans coach won't be on notice. The Jags coach won't be on notice. Sean Payton ain't taking that job.
No.
Those guys are safe from Sean Payton.